protest by frustrated residents. Residents from Melville and surrounding areas took to the streets today to demonstrate over ongoing water shortages. Mugwebo acknowledged that Johannesburg's water infrastructure is under severe pressure.
The system from our bulk supply cannot be able to supply us at that rate. We need to reduce that demand down to about 1,550. That's issue number one, because what happens is that whenever, say for instance, there is a technical issue in the system, you'll find that the system takes very long time to recover.
Meanwhile, the residents from Melville and surrounds say Joburg Water is underplaying the harsh conditions they are living under. Some households are reporting they have been without water for up to 27 days. It is understood that outages affecting Melville, Parktown West, Demerentia and surrounding areas stem from a crack at the Hurst Hill Reservoir 2, which Joburg Water says its teams have been working to repair since November last year. But residents maintain the utility is not taking their concerns seriously.
I think they are downplaying it. I don't think that they're taking it that seriously. The odd tanker that goes around, we don't get told where tankers are. The councillors in the areas have to beg for locations and for water.
I think they could be a little bit more truthful, and it's not clear as to why Joburg Water can't be as honest and open and transparent to citizens about it. Because you know what, citizens, we will understand if we know what the real situation is. So I think they just needed to be a little bit more open and transparent to us.
In Pretoria, acting national head of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, Thuso Gefelagai, is outlining some of the challenges faced when investigating police. Gefelagai is testifying before the Mazanga Commission of Inquiry today. He started his testimony by detailing their role as the police watchdog, highlighting shortfalls in resources as well as manpower.
IP does not have experts to collect certain evidence. Hence, we would then rely on the subs to collect such on our behalf.
He says while they are governed under the IPID Act in performing their duties, there remains issues of pushback and political meddling in their affairs.
But then it's surprising that there are those that are seem to be immune. And you also observe some kind of political interference, if I to put it.
Gefelagai's testimony is expected to give key insights into specific murder cases in the city of Ekurhuleni, allegedly involving members of the city's Metro Police Department. Lobby group AfriForum says it does not act on behalf of any implicated members of apartheid-era police in the TRC Cases Commission of Inquiry. The inquiry started its work this morning with opening addresses almost 9 months since its establishment. The commission is investigating allegations of interference to delay the prosecution of TRC-related cases. AfriForum is representing 4 witnesses who will be testifying before the inquiry. Group Head of Private Prosecutions, Advocate Gerrie Nel.
We hold no brief for anyone who've made themselves guilty of crimes and has not obtained amnesty. We do not act for any implicated member of the former security forces.
The National Joint Operational and Intelligence Structure is confident its security measures will ensure a safe State of the Nation address in Cape Town. As officials make their way to the mother city for SONA 2026, Nat Joints has deployed various safety and security units in the city's CBD ahead of tomorrow's event. Police spokesperson Athlenda Mate says Nat Joints has drawn on experience from major national events hosted successfully across the country, including previous SONAs. Mate says Nat Joints held regular meetings for the operational plan to unfold accordingly.
All role players have commenced with their respective responsibilities in line with their mandate, with law enforcement agencies having mobilized the necessary resources to enhance police visibility to prevent and combat opportunistic crime before, during and after the address.
And in Spain, Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has promised Parliament that justice will be served following 2 train accidents that claimed 47 lives last month. Shock hit the rail sector after a collision between two high-speed trains in the southern region of Andalusia on January 18. The crash resulted in the deaths of 46 people, making it one of Europe's deadliest such disasters this century. 2 days later, a commuter train ploughed into the rubble of a collapsed wall, killing the driver and injuring dozens of people. Government has now reached a deal with railway unions to invest 1.8 billion euros to strengthen public rail safety. Gold is trading at $5,052.97 an ounce. The rand is at 15.87 to the dollar, 21.73 to the pound, 18.91 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $68.80 a barrel.
In Edenville, heading towards Bedfordview, there's slow-moving traffic. This is on the R24 westbound between Edenville Road and the Petru Interchange. There's also slow-moving traffic. That's in the mother city. There's an accident scene causing that delay in Blue Downs at Stellenbosch Arterial and the R300. And also slow-moving traffic due to roadworks on Hospital Bend. This is approaching Philip Hosana.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 29 and 31 degrees, while Cape Town is partly cloudy with a moderate northwesterly wind at a high of 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, Joburg Water says it's still working to find long-term solutions to water issues affecting residents.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. You're with Mandy Wiener on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. On the show today, the DA is taking Joburg to court over the water crisis. The mayor says Joburg is not facing a day zero scenario as residents hit the streets in protest. We'll get an update on Parliament's preparedness for the State of the Nation. Paul O'Sullivan back in the hot seat at the ad hoc committee. And I'll fill you in on all the drama from the Proteas T20 Cricket World Cup. All of that over the next hour.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Good to be with you today. If you're a cricket fan, how are you recovering from that near heart attack of the last half an hour? I think I've just witnessed the very best T20 cricket match I've ever seen. And for those of you who are not cricket fans, I'll explain it this way. South Africa almost lost that match 3 times. Afghanistan almost beat us for the first time ever 3 times. It came down to, firstly, the last over and then the last ball. It went to what is called a super over. Tristan Stubbs hit a 6 off the last ball of the super over to send it to a second super over. Afghanistan hit 3 sixes in a row. They needed a 6 off the last ball, and Keshav Maharaj got a wicket. So it was phenomenal. Go watch the highlights if you can. But if you watched that, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a WhatsApp voice note, 072-702-1702, 072-567-1567. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that game of cricket. And the Proteas, we live in an utterly bipolar country. Honestly, we win a game like that, and now we're going to deal with the water crisis. So that's the big focus for today, of course. 2 big press conferences today. The mayor of Joburg, Dada Morero, and his team holding a press conference. The DA holding a press conference. There was a protest earlier today as well. There is now an intergovernmental water war room to deal with the water crisis. As my colleague Ferial Hafaji pointed out, this joins the bomb squad and the high impact service delivery units and the presidential working group on Joburg. You see a pattern here? They don't know what they are doing, in more colourful language than that. Firstly, take a listen to what the Joburg mayor, Dada Morero, had to say about the fact that Joburg is not facing a day zero scenario. Yes, there are challenges with the water supply network. There is water throttling, but it's not a day zero scenario.
The first part that we want to speak to is the water demand management, which is an important part of the work that we're doing. you'd know that we have been trying to reduce the consumption in Johannesburg, and the bulk of it is as a result of our water losses, which continue to stretch our demand in Joburg. Also included is residents' consumption, which is quite higher than it should be. We're supposed to be at least consuming about 1,550 megaliters a day. We are now sitting at about 1,750. So we have to reduce that to 1,550 because that's the amount of water that were apportioned by rainwater. So we are looking at how best we can do that. Part of the strategy is throttling, as you know that particularly at night we try to throttle water so that we can reduce the losses during the night.
Executive Mayor Dada Morero at that press conference earlier today. I don't get this demand issue. How much water do you use? Do you use an exceptional amount of water? Are we wasting water as Joburg? Is it a culture thing? Do we need to change our behavior? Or is it just the leaks? And he acknowledged that. But I don't understand this water demand issue and why we use so much more water. Is it gardens? What is it? There was also a protest earlier today. Residents of Melville, other suburbs as well, taking to the streets in protest because some of them have not had water for weeks on end now. Our reporter, Dimakatso Leshoro, was out on the streets this morning. Dimakatso, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. What are the residents of Joburg saying about the situation with water supply?
Hi, Mandy. The residents are very, very frustrated. They're saying that they don't even believe what the mayor is saying at this point. They believe that Joburg Water, the mayor, are downplaying what the issues are because some of them have been without water for 27 days, straight 27 days with no water in the taps at all. Some have had little water trickling in, so they are tired, they say, about the promises that the mayor is making. They're saying that they're not fixing the cause or the core problem, but merely putting a band-aid on these problems. So they want, they've suggested that perhaps it's time for the Joburg Water and the mayor to admit that they can't really handle the problem, they don't have the capacity to, and ask for help.
There was an extraordinary moment at Dada Morero's press conference today when a resident went to sit next to him and said, "Mr. Mayor, can you smell me? I haven't had water for 24 days. I imagine the level of frustration from people is overwhelming.
I mean, you could see it from that gentleman. He walked in just before, as the mayor was walking in, and his security and, he was like, "You're not going to stop me. I'm going to speak to the mayor. I want you to know that I don't have water for a year." He says for a whole year, man, he hasn't had water at night in Brixton. This is where they've been building this tower. He's now said that the tower will be up and running by the end of February. We don't know. We'll wait and see if that actually happens. But the guy was very frustrated, and his, opinion, his comments is reflective of what we saw from residents in Melville this morning. And they were making the point that a lot of them are professionals, and they took a day out of their work to come and protest because they believe that protesting seems to be the only way that officials listen to residents' demands.
Dimakatso, thank you. Dimakatso Leshoro, EWN reporter who was out at that protest earlier today. Well, let's get some reaction to what the mayor has said and speak to WaterCan Executive Director, Dr. Ferial Adam. Dr. Adam, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. The mayor says that we are not near a day zero scenario in Joburg. He speaks about the demand. He speaks about wastage. And he's given us the numbers on this. What is your reaction to that?
Good afternoon, Mandy, and to your listeners. I mean, I think that it's a complete disconnect to what is going on the ground. By the way, I did ask him at the briefing to say, how can you say that we don't have a day zero when there are people who have been without water for about 25 days, some with 20, and then he backtracked and said, yes, those people who don't have water actually do have day zero. But in terms of putting the blame on the residents and the consumers, look, on the one hand, yes, we're a water-scarce country, and the whole country needs to be more mindful of how we use water. But on this issue, where we are right now, where people don't have water for almost a month, and in some instances 6 months and a year. I think that we need to, it can't just be the residents that are causing the issues. And, the call out to say we need to save water, he never touched on industry, he didn't touch on businesses, he's just targeting the residents, and that is actually causing more anger, and it shows the disconnect that there is with people living every single day without water.
There's an announcement now that there will be an intergovernmental water war room to deal with the city's water crisis. Is this the right move?
Look, let me just give a little bit of context there. I'm not very optimistic about a water war room, because let me tell you, we had the bomb squad that was looking at City of Joburg issues. I don't know what has happened to the bomb squad. We had then the presidential working group. Some of them are working, not all of them are working. Now, this water war room is from the province. So like each level of government, the bomb squad was from the mayor, the presidential working group was from the president, and then you've got now the province having a water war room, which, by the way, didn't know much about the water challenges in the province. How is that even possible? So I don't understand why they're setting up more structures rather than creating a consolidated structure, have all of them in the room, and then deal with the issues. And I don't think setting up another water war room is actually going to get us anywhere. It's not what we need.
Dr. Ferial Adam, Water Can Executive Director, thank you very much for your time reacting there to Dada Morero. Sure, lots of messages on the WhatsApp line. Hi, Mandy, I don't get it. How can the Joburg mayor be talking of water wastage overuse when residents haven't had water for weeks on end? From Tibo. And then, hi, Mandy, the water issue is the culmination of voting for people who have a horrendous governance track record. Now it's consequence time. On the other hand, there's high illegal foreigners who are burdening the system, and the behavior of citizens on using water will never change. People rinse laundry 2 times, their toilets leak, they don't care. It's wishful thinking that anything can change behaviors of people. Look at how the behaviors have existed. Keep sending those messages through.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
We know that Joburg Water has been speaking. We spoke to them yesterday, an extensive interview on the situation. Let's speak to the bulk water supplier, Rand Water now. Makanosi Maru is the spokesperson. Makanosi, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. Firstly, if you can give us an update on your system in terms of supply into the city of Joburg. How is that looking at the moment?
Good afternoon, Mandy, and good afternoon to 702 listeners. Mandy, the system is recovering very slowly at a slow pace. Reservoirs are quite low. We are sitting below 40%. Ideally, we are aiming for 60%. So the progress is there. It's gradual, but it's slower than we anticipated. So the more water we put into the system, the more water is going out of the system.
Why is that?
One, it's the high consumption. And I'm going to give context with regards to high consumption. We did send out a warning as Rainwater on Saturday that the consumption is high, particularly with regards to the 2 cities, City of Johannesburg and City of Tshwane. We are not blaming the residents. We are also cautioning municipal customers that the consumption is high, and we need to look into it. We know some of the factors why the consumption is high, because some areas don't have water completely. Where is the water going in from Rainwater's point of view up until it reaches the end user, who is the consumer or the customer? So we are looking at the leaks. Municipalities, they need to fix the leaks. We're talking about illegal connections. Those are the risks that we are asking municipalities to look at. Hence, we are part of the water war room, where we are going to be managing the water in terms of the system, which system is going to be having water, which system does not have water. So the war room is going to be more of a water management control room. So we're going to be communicating from bulk water up until the municipal customers, who is representing the end user.
Makanosi, thank you very much for that update. Makanosi Mru, Rand Water spokesperson, speaking to us there about the current state of the system, that water being pumped at full supply into the city of Joburg, as she says there. A big issue with the leaks, that the metros need to get a handle on this leak situation. I'm sure you saw the video of Helen's Zilla yesterday. We'll chat to her in the second half of the show today about the DA's decision to go to court over the water crisis. Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. Their team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Alcohol drowns our hope and fuels our pain. Our streets are flooded. Our families are breaking. Women and children are not safe. Alcohol kills 100 people in South Africa every day. For more information, visit www.truecostofalcohol.africa. Increase excise tax on alcohol.
This message is brought to you by Eskom, redefining for a better future.
Are you running a business? Every rand counts. Save electricity and cut costs by switching off lights, computers, and air cons after hours. Use energy-efficient lighting and equipment and make saving electricity part of your daily routine. Smart energy habits mean lower bills and greener business future. Let's power success efficiently.
Let's use electricity wisely. Eskom.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a family driving to their new home, carrying boxes stacked with plates and toys and memories. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a new beginning, a fresh start on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra presents its Valentine's Gala concert with music to melt your heart. Conducted by Daniel Boyko, the concert features award-winning pianist Charles Duplessis and showcases South Africa's ballroom champions. Saturday, 14th February at 7 p.m. at the Linda Auditorium. Tickets at Quicket.
702, the Midday Report, Monday to Friday.
12 to 1 p.m.
12:23 on the Midday Report with me, Mandy Wiener. As you can well imagine, a lot of outrage, a lot of frustration from people in response to the Joburg Mayor Dada Morero's comments that I played a bit earlier. On the message line, another leak last year on my road, water meter burst. The Joburg water side of the meter, it was pumping water for 7 days at full pressure before it was stemmed. Then Dada says they love the buzzwords war room, bomb squad, all their committees and talk shops. Well, let's speak about this new water war room that has been set up. Dr. Sean Phillips is the DG of the Department of Water and Sanitation. Dr. Phillips, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. An intergovernmental water war room being announced to deal with the Joburg water crisis. Will this change anything?
Good afternoon, Mandy, and good afternoon to your listeners. This war room that you're speaking about is something that's been set up by the provincial government to achieve better coordination between Rand Water and the municipalities and with the assistance of the provincial government to try and accelerate the resolution of the issues there and improve communication.
And from a national government perspective, of course, you as the DG, will you be involved in that?
Yes, our regional office people are involved in it, but there are underlying problems, Mandy, which can't be solved overnight and which need to be addressed, which the war room can help addressing, but the establishment of the war room itself doesn't solve those underlying problems.
From a national government perspective, I mean, you mentioned these are problems we've known about for a long time: aging infrastructure, the leakage that we're seeing that we've been unable to remedy. How much involvement is there from national government in terms of a long-term recovery plan?
Well, national government is involved in several ways with Gauteng. Firstly, Rand Water is a national government entity. They're an entity of DWS. They are extracting water from the integrated Vaal River system and treating it and giving it to the municipalities in Gauteng. They are giving enough water to the municipalities in Gauteng now to meet the demand if the municipalities could reduce the leaks and if they could improve their storage and pumping capacity, their reservoirs. and also if they could take measures like putting in place stronger water use restrictions to reduce the demand. The problem is that the demand is occasionally exceeding the supply, which makes the system very vulnerable. So what has happened recently is there's been several events which unfortunately happened all at the same time of mechanical electrical breakdowns. And because the system is so vulnerable to such breakdowns, if it wasn't so vulnerable and if it had spare storage capacity in the municipal reservoirs, then those kind of breakdowns which often occur in large systems such as Rand Water and Joburg Water systems wouldn't have such a big effect.
You say that Rand Water is giving enough supply to the city of Joburg. Could there come a point where, and maybe you can explain the legality around this, where a provincial state of disaster or a municipal state of disaster could be declared so that there could be further intervention by national government? Is this something you would consider?
Well, normally disaster funding and disaster legislation is meant to deal with situations which are acts of God. Or acts of nature, such as the floods which recently occurred in Limpopo and in Mpumalanga. This situation has not been caused by anything like that. It's been caused by the municipalities neglecting investment and maintenance of their water and sanitation infrastructure for decades.
Could it be placed under administration or something like that? Do you have any powers that you could utilize?
Well, in terms of the Constitution, Section 139 of the Constitution, the National Department of COGTA and the National Minister of COGTA, that's the Department of Cooperative Governance, together with the Provincial Department of Cooperative Governance, can intervene and dissolve the Council of a municipality and appoint an administrator. But that can only be for a limited amount of time because local government is a separate sphere of government. You can't permanently take, in terms of the Constitution, you can't permanently take away its roles and responsibilities. It's a separate sphere of government with its own elected representatives. So in the past, those kind of interventions have been limited to 6 months. And unfortunately, that's not long enough to fix the problems. And there haven't been many examples of such 139 interventions for 6 months, which have sustainably resulted in an improvement.
Dr. Phillips, how worried are you about the situation in Joburg specifically?
Well, we're very worried about the situation in Joburg and in Gauteng. But we think that there are things that can be done to address the problems. Firstly, Joburg Water itself is better capacitated than many municipalities with regard to technical expertise. They know what they need to do to improve their infrastructure. They know what reservoirs they need to fix, what pumping stations they need to put in place, what additional storage capacity they need to put in place. They need to be given an adequate budget by the city of Joburg to implement all of those projects. But even if that happened immediately today, it would still take about 18 months for that investment in infrastructure to start having an impact. They also need to be given enough money to do the maintenance that needs to be done and focus on fixing leaks as soon as they appear. I heard you saying something about a leak that wasn't repaired for about a week, a leaking meter. That shouldn't be happening. They should have the necessary resources to fix leaks quickly. And then the other important thing that can be done, which can have a more short-term impact, is for all the municipalities in Gauteng to implement stronger water use restrictions. They're currently on level 1 restrictions, and they're not being enforced strongly enough. They need to move to level 2 or level 3 restrictions, which would reduce the demand. As I indicated earlier, the reason why we're having these prolonged disruptions and why it takes the system so long to recover is the demand is exceeding the supply. So when that happens, the water levels in the reservoirs go right down, and it's very difficult to fill them up again because water is leaving the reservoirs quicker than it goes in.
So a lot of this also comes down to behavior of consumers, but I think we've reached the point where consumers are so frustrated and so outraged that they are refusing to take responsibility, and that's almost a pathology.
Well, sometimes this issue is misinterpreted. When we say that the average consumption of water per capita in Gauteng is high, we don't mean that everybody in Gauteng is consuming too much water. Most people in Gauteng are fine with the amount of water that they're consuming. But there are some people, households, and some companies which use a huge amount of water, and that makes the average go up very high. And when they implement if and when they implement much stronger restrictions and enforce them, they need to focus on those households and those businesses in Gauteng which are using a huge amount of water, which are not using water like it's a scarce resource at all.
Dr. Sean Phillips, thank you so much. That was really, really insightful. Sharing some insights there, Dr. Phillips, the DG of Water and Sanitation, explaining there that there is sufficient water coming from Rand Water, the bulk water supplier, into the city of Joburg specifically. But what is being done with that water? A lot of it is around leakages. They've got a plan. They need a bigger budget, and that needs to be allocated by the city of Joburg. And then it comes down to our behavior as consumers, not all of us, but industrial consumers, and those individuals who are consuming too much. But do you think that we've just reached the point now where we're not willing to hear that at all? I know there's a lot of emotion in this, lots of reaction. Hi, Mandy. Do Joburg Water take into account that Brixton, Melville, Auckland Park and Westdene have an influx of students, and some of the larger accommodations have water tanks of 50,000 litres or more that also need to fill up? And then another message that says perhaps everyone should realise that it has been raining for months in Gauteng. Why are they blaming residents for using too much water? They should ask the private sector to help form not another forum. We all know what that means. Sure, lots of reaction. 12:31, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. Good afternoon. The DA has threatened to take legal action against the city of Johannesburg and Joburg Water over ongoing water challenges. The party's Joburg mayoral candidate, Helen Zille, says they have been consulting with their legal teams on this matter since last year. Zille was part of a DA Gauteng delegation which briefed the media this morning as taps continue to run dry in parts of Gauteng. Joburg Water says it is still working to find long-term solutions to issues affecting residents. Managing Director Nchabeni Mukwebo has admitted that the current system is unable to cope with rising demand. Mukwebo briefed the media this morning as well, following a protest by frustrated residents. And forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan has denied claims that he and former Independent Police Investigative Directorate head Robert McBride targeted former Acting Commissioner Khomotso Phahlane. O'Sullivan says it's a false narrative that he and McBride were part of a plot to get rid of Phahlane to pave the way for McBride to become National Commissioner. O'Sullivan has been responding to questions during day 2 of his appearance before Parliament's ad hoc committee probing allegations of police corruption. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 1 or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
One day. I'm still trying to catch my breath. I know I've been speaking about water for half an hour, but I think that was the best T20 I've ever watched.
I'm inclined to agree with you. Good afternoon, Mandy. I was absolutely brilliant. There were some really, really big moments in that double super over encounter between the Proteas and Afghanistan. And South Africa took some really big moments there. Tristan Stubbs hitting his 6 of the first super over. And then Keshav Maharaj. It was a bold call from Aidan Markham to give it to a spinner, knowing that Afghanistan are really good at playing spin as well. And then for it to end that way, absolutely incredible.
I have to read this message from Mike. He says, Rabada almost lost us the game, bowling 2 no balls in the final over. The first meaning he lost the final wicket. Unfortunately, he almost lost the game for us. We should have won it in normal play.
Yeah, it should have been quite a comfortable one at that. But I do think he redeemed himself getting that run out in that last ball to get it to a super over in the first place. I know everybody wants to point fingers and it's a knee-jerk thing, but I think the fact that South Africa ended up winning that match and are comfortably in a place now to go through to the next round should be celebrated. And
I did feel that Afghanistan should have won that game 3 times.
Probably. I'm inclined to agree with you on that one as well. I think, like I say, all the big moments went South Africa's way, and that's what I think I would like to applaud is the big moments that the South African players took.
Well, if you haven't watched it, please, you have to go watch the highlights. Unbelievable game.
Breathless encounter. But yeah, the Proteas won their second match at the T20 World Cup in the most dramatic fashion today, beating Afghanistan in a thrilling double super over decider. South Africa batted first and made 187 for 6 with Quinton de Kock and Ryan Rickleton hitting half centuries. The match was tied after Kagiso Rabada took the final wicket off a no ball before redeeming himself with a run out on the last ball. Tristan Stubbs hit a 6 of the last ball of the first super over to send it to a second, where Keshav Maharaj recovered from conceding 3 successive 6s to defend 23 runs. The Proteas' next game is against New Zealand on Saturday. And in a match that is currently on the go, Australia are batting first in their match against Ireland. The Aussies are on 110 for 4 after 12 overs. And the news just in, Tottenham have fired head coach Thomas Frank following their 2-1 loss to Newcastle last night. The result saw them slip down to 16th place on the standings, 5 points above the relegation zone, and with just one win from their last 8 games this year. Frank was in charge for just under 8 months and won 77 of 26 league games. And last night, he was still adamant that he could turn things around.
I understand the frustration. The easiest thing is to point at me. That's fair. That's part of the job, unfortunately. I also know one thing. I'll work day and night very hard to do everything I can to turn it around. But also, it's never only one person. This is a situation we've been in also last year. So there's something we need to get through and improve. And I'm not in doubt that I'm part of that.
No replacement has yet been named.
Bring back Ange.
Oof, that's a big one. And tickets for the Soweto derby between Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates on the 28th of February have been sold out. Official sales began yesterday, and an overwhelming demand resulted in tickets being snapped up in record time in just over 24 hours. Mawande Mateza, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, things not looking too bad in the Gauteng area. This is in the Joburg area, free-flowing traffic. No accidents have been reported. However, in the mother city, we still have that accident scene in Blue Downs. This is on Stellenbosch Arterial, approaching the R300. Also in Tableview, there's slow-moving traffic. This is approaching Circle Road due to a sinkhole, so please avoid that route if you can. And there's also roadworks slowing down traffic on Hospital Bend incoming. This is approaching Philip Hosana. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
On average, you'll spend 83,200 hours working. That's 3,466 days. 20% of that time will be spent in meetings that should have been emails. 10% spent aligning on the misalignment the previous meeting caused. And the rest of the time, waiting for your laptop to update so you can resend that extremely urgent presentation due yesterday because your boss forgot to download it 2 weeks ago. And now, the link has expired. Oh, life taxes you. So invest tax-free from as little as 250 Rand per month.
Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is an authorized FSP.
The Dis-Chem Better Rewards program is here, and every time you shop and save, you're also giving back. Each time you swipe, not only are you rewarded, but a percentage of your purchase is donated to the Dis-Chem Foundation to support communities in need. So why wait? Sign up to become a Better Rewards member today and support with every swipe. Dis-Chem Foundation, caring for the community.
702 is in conversation with Capitec, discussing how South Africans can protect themselves against financial crime.
It allows the fraudster to choose a number that they wish, so they can present themselves to be your bank's fraud department or even worse, SAPS. And this perfectly imitates. So even if you're using something like a true caller, unfortunately it's added network layers. So it fools even those sort of call verification services. And really what they do is once that number comes in, they've now creating this fear and urgency. And once you answer, they're really going to use things that trigger strong emotional responses from you to try and get you to stop thinking. And there's going to be things like, hey, there's a fraudulent transaction in your account is about to be closed, your money is at risk, or we found drugs or passports at customs, and they're going to try and get that fear factor of you raised in your mind.
Land the scam with Capitec. Capitec is an authorized financial services provider and registered credit provider.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072-702-1702.
Hi Mandy, regarding the water crisis in Joburg, so the consumption is high, but I hope they know the difference between consumption and wastage and leakage. Thanks, Joe.
Mandy, those officials, they're talking nonsense. In Soweto, water is leaking everywhere. Too much water in the street, up and down. There is no such thing that they are lying. They don't maintain the water, because you will see these cars, Johannesburg water cars passing with employees. They're getting paid each and every month. For what? They're doing nothing.
Yes, Dada Marrero, you've certainly succeeded in reducing water consumption in Johannesburg. It's now zero.
Good day, Mandy. Near the Zoo Lake, there is a street called a road they called Denby Road. That road have a leak of nearly a year. No one is closing it. The water just runs along the road on the side, like for a year. No one is attending that. And Joburg Waters workers, they see that every day.
Thank you very much for all of those messages coming through, reacting there to that press conference from the Executive Mayor, Dada Marrero, earlier today, assuring residents that Joburg is not facing a day zero scenario. He did acknowledge challenges with the water supply network, euphemism if you've ever heard one, but saying that the issue is with leakages, but also with demand. I thought really interesting insights from the DG of the Department of Water and Sanitation, Sean Phillips, explaining to us that there's enough water being supplied to the city of Joburg. It's what happens to it. It's the leakages, it's the demand, and of course leakages a big issue. Well, you may have seen the video of the DA mayoral candidate Helen Zille cooling off yesterday in a great big water leak in Lindbro Park. If you haven't, it's well worth going to watch. But the DA today announcing that it is going to go to court over the water situation in the city of Joburg. The DA's mayoral candidate Helen Zille joins us now. Helen, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time today. Why is the DA deciding to go to court over this issue?
Good afternoon, Mandy. Yes, thank you very much for asking me that question because it's important. We've been looking at the water crisis now for a long time, and we've been reading many documents and analyzing what's gone wrong and how we can fix it. That's my job as the aspirant mayor of Joburg. And there is a very good turnaround strategy that I know my colleagues in the DA contributed to substantially, and that was actually adopted by the city of Johannesburg in 2024. And there's no money allocated to that turnaround strategy, and it's not being implemented. And in fact, 4 billion rand was swept out of the water into the general account, and that shows that they are not prioritizing implementing the turnaround strategy, which they need to do. So what we're going to do is simply go to court and say, implement your own policy. Budget for your own policy. Make it happen, because water is an absolute right. It's not an optional right in the Constitution. And that Joburg is absolutely failing to deliver on that right.
This does echo what the DG, Dr. Sean Phillips, just told us about the fact that there is a plan. They do know which reservoirs they need to fix. They have identified the issues. They need a better budget, or they need the budget to implement this. Are you confident that if the courts compel the city to implement this plan, that plan is sufficient, that you do believe it would fix things in the short term, or is it a long-term strategy?
Look, it is a long-term strategy. It has to be, because the infrastructure hasn't been maintained in Joburg for 30 years. So in Cape Town, they can plan for 2050, and indeed, they are budgeting 40 billion rand over the next 3 years to put new infrastructure into the expanding and growing parts of Cape Town, mostly the poor areas. That's what you can do when you plan for the future. In Joburg, we have to go back to 2000. And fix stuff that hasn't been fixed for 26 years at least. That is the problem. You can't invest in new infrastructure when the old infrastructure is broken and failing. And yes, there are critically affected systems. I mean, the 4 that are on their last legs are Hurst Hill 1 and 2, which supply Melville and Emerentia and Auckland Park and Westdean and Coronationville and Fordsburg, all of those places get their water from Hurst Hill 1 and 2. And that's actually so bad that it's on bypass at the moment. They are bypassing those reservoirs because so much water leaks out of them. Then there are places like the Alex Berea system that is very broken. There's the Mid-Rand system that is seriously broken. And I can go on. Those are the most critical endangered ones, and we'll have to start with those. But then, of course, others will become seriously endangered because there are 22 water systems that are in a very bad state in Joburg. So what we have to do is find the money to go backwards in time not to look at the future vision, but to patch things that should have been maintained a long time ago. Just to give you an example, Mandy, last year, in the last financial year, Cape Town replaced 167 kilometers of water and sewer pipes in the city of Cape Town. That is 3 times more, in fact, more than 3 times more. Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, and Tshwane put together.
Helen, I think are you still with us?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I thought we lost you. So I want to use that example of Cape Town that you
Did you hear what I said?
Yes,
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, okay,
we heard you. I just want to use that example of Cape Town that you just referred to, because the mayor is saying it's a consumption issue. He's saying that it's a demand issue. How much of this is about the behavior of residents? Residents don't like to hear this because so much of it is about leakages. But if we look at the way that behavior was changed in Cape Town in the lead up to day zero or the threat of day zero in Cape Town, do you think there is a lesson for us in Joburg to learn from that?
Look, the first lesson that you learn from that is that you have to fix the leaks and fix the pipes. That's what the city of Cape Town did. And we upped it very strongly when we were facing the potential of day zero. Day zero in Cape Town, or the approaching day zero, was caused by the fact that it hadn't rained for 7 years. In Gauteng, the dams are overflowing. They're full. They're more than 100% full. The whole Vaal system is over 100% full. And I know that Rand Water gives everybody a certain quota of water, and that they're now going to start throttling Joburg, which I think is unconscionable at a time like this, that to start throttling Joburg. But in Joburg, it's not the average user that uses too much water. It is the extent of the leaks. And the water spray, I mean, I don't know if you saw Fikile Mbalula's video that went around. He was trying to explain why there were so many leaks, and he was explaining that the workers had gone on strike. And he was going through Bryanston, and there were literally fountains of leaks behind him. I don't know why he thought that was a promotion video for the ANC, because it looked unbelievable, all of those fountains were going out of the water wastages that he was showing, and he was saying, well, the workers had gone on strike. They haven't been on strike for the last 30 years. They've been on strike for the last week. And then there's that leak in Lindra Park, and there are leaks all over the place. Somebody phoned into you and said in Denby Road, in Parktown North, in that area, there's another leak. Everywhere you go, you will find those leaks. I was just driving around Friedman Drive in Singeldene today, and we jumped out the car because we saw a whole lake developing there, and there was another one. So the millions of litres that pour out of these lakes. And there's another critical thing. When the water catchment area is overflowing, as the Vaal Dam is now, surely Rand Water can use that extra water over the 100% mark in the Vaal Dam to give Joburg some more while they're fixing the pipes and while they're fixing the infrastructure.
Helen Zille, sorry, we have to leave it there, unfortunately. The Joburg mayoral candidate, Helen Zille, speaking to us there about the water situation. The DA saying that it is going to go to court over this water issue to compel the city of Joburg to implement its own water plan.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
Well, let's park the water issue for a moment and speak now about something else involving the city of Joburg. A report in Eyewitness News about how a city of Joburg entity paid R1 million for a wall that was never built. Alpha Ramashwana, EWN reporter, on this story for us. Alpha, talk us through what we know about this.
Good afternoon, Mandy. Just for some context, you remember that 2 weeks ago, we at Eyewitness News broke the story of the acting CEO, Themba Matibe, a 29-year-old ANC Youth League member who was arrested after police, specifically the Special Task Force and Elite Police Unit, raided the Joshco office in the CBD. And we've been zoning in on that entity to find out what exactly is going, what are the corruption allegations. And one of them, Mandy, according to confidential documents which we have found, is that Themba Matibe, who at the time was the chief operating officer in 2023, allegedly signed off on a contract to build a wall that was never actually built. So the document that I've seen claims and alleges that Matibe allowed the payment of R1 million to a subcontractor to build the wall at an old age home in Johannesburg South.
but that wall was never built. In fact, the very same document says Matibe went to the subcontractor and told them not to continue with building the wall. When the irregularities were flagged by a senior official at the Johannesburg Social Housing Company, Matibe attempted to go and recover the 1 million rand that had been sent to that contractor, which the city says it was an interference with an investigation that had been ongoing at the time over the irregularities in that contract. So really, the city did manage to get back the money. They have recovered the 1 million rand, but internal reports that we have seen do confirm that he signed off the 1 million rand to build a wall that was never actually built at all.
Alpha, thank you very much. A very interesting story that. Alpha Ramashwana, EWN reporter.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a parent shuttling his kids, with a back seat full of chatter, laughter, lunchboxes, and lost shoes. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a regular yet special slice of a family's life. Every story's different, and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005, in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
Small businesses are anything but small. They're the backbone of our communities, the dreamers, the doers, the ones who keep Mzansi moving forward. That's why 702 and Capitec Business Banking are putting them in the spotlight. Every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m., catch Small Business Focus with Capitec, where we showcase the hustle, heart, and the secrets to thriving in today's economy. Your vision matters, and with Capitec, you're never building it alone. Small Business Focus with Capitec, the business bank for everyone. Thursdays between 6 and 8 p.m. on 702. Capitec Bank is an authorized FSP 46669.
702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays 12 to 1 p.m.
Afternoon, Mandy. Possible replacement for Thomas Frank at Tottenham. Tottenham evidently waited for a big name coach to be available before they fired Thomas Frank. So Roberto De Zerbi, who was with Brighton in the EPL, has now just resigned as Olympique Marseille coach. So he's the most possible replacement to take over, I think, at Tottenham. Roberto De Zerbi.
Good afternoon, Mandy Wiener and listeners. What a game of cricket we just witnessed. That was a game. This should be game of the tournament, irrespective of what will happen in the next coming fixtures. So something I learned today, I didn't know that a super over, we can have more than one super overs. I thought once the super over is a draw, we do what we call bowling, where the bowlers just bowl to the empty stumps. There is no batsman. They just aim the stumps, and whichever team has bowled, has hit the stumps more than the other wins. So yeah, it's something new that I learned. But yeah, that was a game of the tournament by far.
I think we all learned about a second super over today. And it was interesting that Dewald Brevis couldn't bat a second time because he had gone out, and that Lungi Ngidi couldn't bowl the second super over because he had bowled in the first one. So I think we learned a lot today about how super overs work. As far as the Tottenham coach goes, I mean, right now at this point, I don't think there's too much for me to say about that.
702.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Let's walk the talk.
Moving along swiftly, let's go to the ad hoc committee. Paul O'Sullivan, the forensic investigator, facing some heat from the MK party, from various members of the ad hoc committee today. Babalo Ndenze, EWN parliamentary reporter, following that for us. Babalo, take us through today's questioning of Paul O'Sullivan.
Oh, yes, indeed, Mandy. Paul O'Sullivan back for day 2 of his testimony. We know yesterday was just a background, basically focusing on his background, his credentials, his educational background, etc. Today, they're really getting into the crux of his statement, or his written or his signed affidavit, where he makes several allegations against a number of senior police officials. Norman Ardenson basically started off today by questioning him about visits that he made to the estate house of General Homoto Pahlane, and how he ended up at a braai, at a house that was formerly occupied by Radovan Kreshker, who was in prison at the time, according to O'Sullivan, and why he would accompany an IPED officials to this braai. And so this is Arendse trying to establish the links between him and IPED, as well as former head of IPED, Robert McBride. And O'Sullivan saying he first visited, Pahlane in February 2016 to look at the property and not to do anything related to IPED. And he's denying these claims that he's quite influential when it comes to IPED investigations. He was also questioned about his arrest, for impersonating an IPED official, and he was arrested, with his other assistant, Sir Jane Trent, who's also, mentioned in the committee and the evidence, for being impersonating these IPED officials. And he says that, the matter went to court. Eventually, it was, the case was, withdrawn provisionally, or struck off the roll rather, and it could, according to Arendse, it could come back at any time. And he was also, quizzed quite at length about issues around Phala Mandy, and his link to the Phala investigation into the robbery at President Ramaphosa's house. And he's saying that Arthur Fraser lied, basically, when he alleged that he helped Ramaphosa to track down the people who stole the money from his couch. And he says that, he committed perjury. So he's denying any involvement in that investigation to track that money that was stolen from the Phala farm. He also touched on the PKTC, which is really the main, issue before the committee. And it's also one of the allegations that he makes, at length in his statement. And he also spoke about, how there was, criminal activity happening at the PKTT. And he's spoken about the PKTT really for the first time today. And he also spoke about how certain officials or members of the PKTT, were paid gratification for during some of their investigations. And he detailed this, before the committee. And let's take a listen, Mandy.
The person within University of Fort Hare that the PKTT was liaising with, they had been instructed to liaise with this person, was a person by the name of Pluck. And all of them admitted receiving gratification as defined in Act 12 of 2004. And in particular, the leader of this team, this small team, was this Lieutenant Colonel Khumalo, who admitted receiving 10,000 rand, allegedly for purchase of honey, because apparently Colonel Khumalo was selling honey. And Clark has bought 60 bottles, but he paid for 150 bottles of honey, and no honey was delivered to him. And in fact, the money wasn't refunded, which meant Colonel Khumalo received 10,000 rand gratification.
That sounds like a South African story, if I've ever heard one. Thank you very much to Babalo Ndenze for wrapping up that testimony from Paul O'Sullivan.
The average person will hear their boss say, quick one, 3,476 times during their life. And it's never a quick one. In fact, it's a very long one that forces you to cancel your anniversary dinner at the restaurant with the Michelin star chef and then work through the weekend only to arrive on Monday and be told that the client has decided to go in a different direction. Life taxes you, so invest tax-free from as little as 250 Rand per month.
Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is an authorized FSP.
You may not know this, but that genius, Albert Einstein, he never wore socks. Which proves that even the smartest people aren't always smart. But you can shop like an absolute genius at Decofern Furniture with unbeatable deals on office chairs, desks, and much more. Plus up to 50% off end-of-range items. Work smarter, study smarter, and definitely shop smarter at Decofern Furniture right now, in-store or at decofernsa.co.za.
702, the Midday Report, Monday to Friday.
12 to 1 p.m.
Thank you very much for joining us. The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. It's 1 o'clock.
This is EWN.
The DA wants to take Joburg Water to court over dry taps and 7 people killed in Eastern Cape horror crash. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The DA has threatened to take legal action against the city of Johannesburg and Joburg Water over ongoing